So this is a 1/7 scale figure of who is this scale figure of again? So this is a 1/7 scale figure of Rem from ReZero, the crystal dress version by eStream. Now eStream, if you don't know who they are, I would not be surprised. They are a relatively new company to the figure scene. This is their first release because most of their other figures are up for A, either pre-order, or B, they're not out yet. Oh, by the way, huge shoutouts to eStream for actually reaching out and asking me if I wanted to take a look at this figure, because why would I say no? I mean, just look at this thing. But yeah, eStream, they don't directly manufacture the figures, I think. They work with another company, specifically Alpha Satellite, to make these things, but all the figures are under eStream's own figure brand that they created, which is Shibuya Scramble Figure. Oh, I should have done that the other way. Shibuya Scramble Figure. Now, the Shibuya Figure brand is attempting to be a high luxury figure brand that focuses on scale and I don't know, the figures being dynamic, I guess. Now the key word there is luxury, because this is definitely a luxury item. The price for this thing is around 33,000 yen, which is very expensive. If you need a USD conversion rate, I think that's probably around like 300 USD Canadian, it's like 400 bucks. If you're an Australian figure collector, I feel so sorry for you. Now, that is actually pretty much double the amount of like a typical scale figure. Figure collecting is already a pretty expensive hobby as it is. Any figure that I usually buy, it's around 12k to like 23k yen. This thing is 33k. It's a different ball game now. And that, by the way, that's without shipping. The shipping, depending on where you are and what type of shipping process you use, this could add up to another $100 in shipping, which is ridiculous. Is that worth that price? Obviously, that's going to be up to you. I'll get into that a little bit. Alright, so first, unboxing experience. You guys already saw it at the beginning, but it does come in its own like special custom shipping box, which honestly, when you first get it, is very light. Like honestly, I feel like they could have used a much more like sturdier box that felt a little bit more weight to it. But yeah, this is the box itself, as you can see. It has Rem crystal dress version on it, and also has Shibuya Scramble Figure, which my box actually has a little bit of a dent, which is kind of concerning, especially for this figure, and we'll get to that later. But yeah, that's pretty much it, and it has some like styrofoam on the bottom and also on the top of the figure, as you saw in the beginning of the video. But yeah, and inside the shipping box you get the figure box, which is a pretty much big giant white box with Rem crystal dress version all over around it with the ReZero logo, and you get a little bit of a brief description of the figure here. So it says here, presenting Rem from ReZero, starting life in another world in 1/7 scale, wearing a cute and detailed dress. Rem is alighted on a ice crystal with a gentle expression that will keep you warm. You will be able to enjoy the view of a fantasy world with an overwhelming sense of scale. And I'd say that's pretty true. But yeah, no windows, as you can see. It's literally just a big giant white box. And inside the white box, the figure itself was packaged in a regular plastic blister packaging type of thing that you would see in any regular figure. And this is also concerning. We'll get to that in a second. And the thing about this figure is that it was actually directly pretty much centered in the middle, right? It's not secure on either side of the blister packaging. It's literally straight in the middle, which is a little bit, it literally almost gave me a heart attack when I was opening this thing, but that's the box unboxing experience. Now inside the blister packaging, you do get the figure itself, plus that gigantic base. Yes, this is a one-piece set. You don't have to, there's barely any assembly at all. The figure comes attached to the base. Now, as cool as that is, because it feels like a premium product that way, right? Like, you don't have to do any work to assemble the figure yourself, but it does introduce another minor concern, or, well, not minor concern, it could be a huge concern, but there it is. You know, you get that, and you also get 2 extra crystal, I'm gonna call these things like crystal veins or whatever. You get 2 of them, and they get placed on the figure itself, or not the figure itself, the base itself. Okay. So, assembly. Like I said before, there's not a whole bunch of stuff to do, but the 2 extra crystal veins, you do have spots for those on the base that you have to put. So, one of the crystal veins does have a very obvious spot, which is directly underneath Rem's feet, and you just plop that in there. The second one does not have an obvious spot. Like, I spent probably a good, like, I don't know, 10 minutes trying to find this thing. Oh my god, you guys have no idea. The second crystal piece goes right where my finger is, if you can see that on camera. There's like a little spot right here. I did not know that. That didn't even look like a place where this thing could go, but that's where it is. Took me forever to find it. I honestly wish they would have put instructions, but it's only 2 extra pieces. Like, you must be an idiot if you can't find it, right? And I was that idiot. The figure itself. It is fantastic. I love the sense of scale that it produces, like they're trying to go for. You have the base itself, which has this gigantic like water effect going around with, and it's crystallizing in the air, which looks really cool. Especially here, as you can see here. This crystal side looks a lot more crystallized. This one's still kind of going into that liquid to crystal form. And then you have this like, I don't know what this is, like a bigger crystal energy thing. Who knows? On the back side, you have the gigantic crystals just shooting up, and this is where the figure is actually directly attached to some of these crystals. Rem's dress is directly glued or attached on, however they attached it. It looks pretty cool, right? So the base, oh shit. Yeah, so the base, fantastic for me, because I've had too many figures where the bases aren't really that, you know, great, right? This is kind of like, for a new company, obviously the prices are a little bit outrageous, but I think the base is significantly, if I think about it, like an extra $100 for like a cool base, I think I'd take that. Maybe that's just me. Whether that justifies the cost though, that's up to you. Now, Rem herself looks phenomenal. I love the paint job on this thing. The hair looks fantastic. The dress looks really good. I do like the color gradient on her sleeves here, from the blue to the transparency. That looks really dope. She's wearing like this little icicle crown with these bows on the side, which look, or ribbons I should say, which looks really cute. She's got this nice flowy vibe to her. Her face looks spot on. Now the dress is actually more detailed than I thought it was going to be. I didn't actually take a look at too many pictures, so I didn't notice, but the dress itself does have this little flower petal design on it, which I think is really dope, combined with these little water droplets on the edges of the skirt here, and also the stars, which I think are really cool. Obviously her little thigh highs are pretty dope as well. The only thing about her outfit that I probably don't think fits very well are her shoes. They kind of look like sneakers, or is that just me? I don't know. And yeah, I think this is definitely a great figure. Okay, now positives out of the way, let's get into some minor concerns. Now, as I said before during the assembly thing, this thing is a one-piece set. That is pretty cool, but due to how this figure is structured, you know, with the figure and the base being interconnected and how complex this whole thing is, it is very fragile. Now, this wouldn't be a huge deal if the packaging was actually on par. As you can kind of tell from my brown shipping box there, it did have a big dent. While in packaging, if you put any serious pressure on this thing, it's probably going to end up cracking a little bit, or maybe a lot, depending on how unlucky you are. I've seen a couple of issues floating around regarding this figure where people have received it broken. Now, I don't believe they received it directly from the SSF shop, but they did receive it broken nonetheless. Rem pretty much broke off from the base at the crystals here in the back, and it was not a pretty sight. So, obviously there were 2 ways they could have circumvented this. One is just pack it better, because I feel like with the way they package this, it's decent, but it's not like fully protected, I'd say. Especially with the little blister packaging. Either, you know, just pack it in a much more sturdier box with a lot more like foam and cardboard, or replace the plastic blister packaging with some styrofoam or something, right? Or the other option is divide the figure and the base into 2 separate pieces, right? Like, it prevents a lot more flexing going around during shipping, and I feel like it would have overall solved the problem. But yeah, that is literally the only concern I probably have with this thing, is the fact that it's one piece. Obviously, I love the fact that it's one piece, but it does come with its caveats too, as I just mentioned. Now, at the end of the day, would I recommend this figure? Yeah, I think if it were me, if I was a gigantic Rem fan and a ReZero fan, I would definitely pick up this figure, okay? I might have to cancel other figures in that month, unfortunately, because the price for this thing is definitely expensive. You could probably get 2 scale figures for the same price for this. Now, with regards to the Shibuya Scramble figure line as a whole, I definitely think the brand itself is aiming to be for the smaller minority of figure collectors. It's not for your average figure collector, because the prices are definitely a lot more expensive, but I do think they're putting a lot a decent amount of more effort than other manufacturers, especially when it comes to the bases, right? Last time I checked, eStream actually only had figures for ReZero and SAO, two series that I'm not like a big fan. Like, not to say I dislike ReZero at all, right? But like, I'm not a massive fan of ReZero or SAO. But they have started getting into other IPs. Recently, they did put up 2 figures from Overlord. We got an Albedo one and a Shaltier one. The Albedo one is... Oh, you could get 2 1/4 scale figures pretty much for almost the same price as that 1/7 scale. It's ridiculous. Albedo fans are probably going to go whack job crazy with that thing. But they also have a Konosuba one as well, which looks really good. I'm not going to lie. Megumin, their Megumin figure looks phenomenal. I've seen a lot of Megumin figures, and most of them are just really meh. But eStream, oh, if I had to give one word for this figure, it's definitely explosions. At the end of the day, I would have to say eStream, they're definitely going to be a high luxury brand for figures. If I had to give a comparison, they're probably going to be like the Apple of figure collecting. Definitely not for everybody, okay? If you think their figures are overpriced, then you don't have to buy them. I mean, figures themselves are a made-to-order market, right? So if you don't place an order, they don't have to make one for you, right? But for the rare people who are definitely going to put out an order for this thing, these things are probably going to jump in value. I don't know how easy it is to get this figure now, because this did originally release back in September. Although, because of Corona delays, not a lot of people have theirs and theirs shipped right now. But yeah, you can try to find this either secondhand or Solaris Japan. I haven't checked on Solaris Japan, but the price for this thing is probably ridiculous. I would not be surprised if it's like over $1,000. Okay, so now we're at the point of the video where I want to do a giveaway for this thing, because I wasn't planning on keeping this figure when I got it in, because I feel like this figure deserves to be in the hands of a bigger Rem fan than I am, and a ReZero fan in general, right? But after having opened it and taken it out of the box, I'm not confident that I'd be able to repack this and, you know, safely ship it out without it breaking on the way. So, I don't know. I'm probably just keeping it in general. This thing looks really great, but I don't want to dust this thing, so I'll have to either buy a new detail or empty one of my top details. Oh my god. It's not gonna be fun. So, that's been it for me. By the way, thank you guys for 49,000 subscribers. You guys are awesome. We're getting really close to 50K. My goal this year was to hit 50K by the end of the year, and we might just be able to do that. So, that's been it for me. If you did enjoy this video, if you could leave a like, that would be marvelous. And I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace. Huge thanks to Seswat, Beast, Cow Ice, Ralku, Malahat, Kitsu-chan, Obsessed Shadow, Tiso, Satsui, Casual Arrogance, Randy, and Hentia. I appreciate the support. And of course to all my other patrons as well.
You beast up, you think where he's gonna land? I love how you go fucking